due, Owen Madden.
Wow. Thank you. So like Ben said, I'm going to kind of go over a little bit of processes and stuff, but first I'm going to, we lost it again. I'm going to introduce myself. I'm Owen, Owen Madden. I work at a cabinet shop in upstate New York, currently called Rowan Woodwork. It's a great place to work. Suzanne, the owner, is right here, and she's fantastic. Ben was very gracious with my age. I'm a little bit older than that. And I've kind of had a pretty storied history in woodworking. I feel like I've kind of touched it all. I was talking with Frank last night about, I went to Europe when I graduated high school and walked into a church in Italy and looked up and said, I think this is all I want to do for the rest of my life. It was just so awe-inspiring. And the day I got back, I got a job doing historic restoration in New York, which there's a lot of brownstones, and it felt like it was going to be super romantic. And then all of a sudden, I was scooping plaster with a shovel and cutting metal lath off of walls and doing all the horrible things. But it gives you a nice insight into how and why people built stuff. And over the years, I kind of grew my skills, and I got really into architectural millwork, windows and doors and cornices. I love preserving and remaking things, and I did that for quite a while. And then hard left into ultra-modern work. I don't know what sparked it. It may be just a change, but I've been with Rowan doing some modern cabinet making for about 4 years. And before that, I was in an architectural millwork shop that we did big curtain walls and big tilt-turn European-style windows. I'm going to jump right into it. I don't want to waste too much time on myself, but I'm not going to go into that. I decided I was going to kind of make a funny joke, but there's so many people here to talk about how and why we started cabinet making, and after seeing everybody's beautiful works that are just honoring all these things that we've done over time, I'm going to skip the joke because it seems inappropriate. Like, I just was looking around, I'm like, oh my God, I can't make fun of it. As much, but there's a cabinet maker, Bill Plavek, who I just admire so much, and he does like the complete opposite of what I do. He does hand tools, he does the attire. He's at Colonial Williamsburg, right? Yeah, and he is truly one of my favorites to watch what he does. And so I'm more on the machine end. We're efficiency based. We try to use the things that get our job done the best, the fastest, and with the best return in price, so we can transfer that onto our clients. We don't want to spend $1 million on cabinets and charge $1.5 million if we can do, something affordable, something everybody can own that's made well and made practically, and custom. A lot of stuff people are buying, it's not tailored exactly to their house, but how nice is it to walk in and the perfect pantry's right there for your family. You got a big family, you want this massive pantry, walk in, you want little step stools for your kids, anything you want. I believe Sue's put a scratching post for a cat on a kitchen island because they love their cat so much. It's just it's a way that we try to transfer, is to be efficient and process as much as we can reasonably. And plywood's going to be one of the best ways to do it. You look at why we use plywood, other than the fact of it saves money, is it saves a lot of time. It saves a lot of headache of if a cabinet sits in storage for 6 months and now the season's changed and we go to install it and it's taken off and it's all crazy. So stability is usually the first thing that we're looking for in plywood. The next thing is going to be consistency. I'm going to actually flip to the next slide because I did write an article about it. If anybody wants to really deep dive, I'm going to keep this surface level. But there's so many different types, and is this real gold? Sure. There's so many different types, and it's like again, like best choice for each thing. You can't just go to a store and pick up one sheet and expect that to be good for your doors. You know, we do sometimes 9-foot tall, 3-foot wide doors. We need to make something that's going to be stable and straight and stay that way for a long time. Also, I mean, veneering's been around forever, and we have a fun relationship with it because what we try to do is buy something veneer-wise off the shelf from a plywood distributor, and we try to work within that to make it look ultra custom. So we're really marking out. I believe if I go back, no, we're skipping the joke. Here, I pick each flitch, I find each seam, and I want to know my width of my cabinet, and then I want to center, or I want to keep continuous work going. I want to really take the time to look at that. This is where we spend our time. We hurry up our other processes. Yeah, so you can see it's just a little teeny dovetail, and these little plastic dovetails just hold our face frame together. And it holds it together really, really well. There's a taper to the dovetail, so it actually pulls your joint even tighter. So even if we're doing something on site where, you know, where we want to join something together, but we can't do it until it's up on the wall, this is really nice because we can kind of tap it on. And I'm going to tap them on right now and kind of show you guys how that works. But it's one way that we expedite a lot of our processes. Also, labeling is a huge thing to me. I'm very precise about my labeling. Triangle on everything. It's the only way. So I'm going to lay this down in its orientation, and I'm going to start with my face frame. I'm going to grab a couple little dovetails and a mallet, and I'm going to start over here. You know, this really, you can cut everything all at once and then go to your bench and then just assemble everything all at once. And that's about how easy that is. What do I say when I work? I don't know. I don't normally have a crowd listening to me do this. Okay, one more. Okay, so I'm going to put this off to the side, but you can see it's together. It's fairly rigid. Fairly rigid. Oh, this is going to be such a good practice in practice what you preach. Okay, let's do that again. It probably won't work as well being broken, but it'll still probably go together. And the part that'll still hold it together is, wow, I tested the limits, and I found them. This is live. Okay, so super rigid. Okay. I'm going to show you guys something really cool that, actually, are you guys all on the internet? Do you see on Instagram a lot? You've probably seen a lot of these connectors. They're lamello. It's a, you know, it looks like a biscuit joiner, but they cut these really interesting biscuits, basically, and it's a connector that slips into a biscuited groove, and then we can align things and lock them together. With this one specifically, it's called a Clamex, and with the proper tool, did I drop it? Oh, it's in the, with the proper tool, a 4mm Allen key, I can turn it, and it'll lock into its opposing side. So that's how I have this together, is I want to get my case together and lock it all together down nice and tight. While I do this, I want to talk about the core of the plywood. You can kind of see this. This is a piece of 1-inch plywood. It's a soft core, cross-banded, multiple layers. But then the outside layer before the veneer is an MDF. And what that allows is there's no telegraphing of any of the veneer. underneath into your finished veneers. So it can be a thinner layer, making a cheaper product, not cheaper, but less costly product, and makes it a lot easier to work with. I'm gonna make sure I got my right side here. There we go. And they just go together. One Allen key turn. And that's locked in place. These are super rigid. I won't break this one. But I'm not gonna do it. Okay, and I'm just gonna go through and do this. They make a few different connectors. That's not gonna work. This one just happens to be the most undoable and made it easy to make and then take apart. So I'm gonna put that together. And then I just made a slight error because I want to get my back in here first, which is here. We're up. I'm going to do this so you guys can see it. I'm just going to fit my back in. Then I'm going to keep going. Let's see. Take it back. That's awkward to do that. That's the way. Maybe? Oh my gosh, people. I'm so sorry. There it is. Tight joint. And I don't know if you guys can see this, but you know, this is a little loose right now. I'm going to crank it with this Allen key, and it's going to tighten right up. And I'm going to, before I tighten it too much, get my top in there. That's not my top. This is my top. And we're going to get together. And we're going to keep going. You know, what's nice about this, too, is it's all hidden fasteners. So it makes it so I don't have to screw anything. I don't have to... You could glue this. You don't have to. It's a mechanical connection that's not going to fail. If you have more questions about it, I have some pieces to throw around. But I just want to move through this kind of quickly and just show that, you know, with a few easy things, we can make a cabinet really fast. This is the same company, Lamello. They have this slide connector called the Divario. And in here are these little catches. And I'm going to fit my side in here. And it's just a couple taps. And it's going to lock right in there. Yeah, so now I have a cabinet that I just need to apply the face frame to. I want to talk a little bit about banding, edge banding. You know, it's veneering on the face. We have an edge bander. It can cover all the kind of unsightly joints that you don't want to see. It's insanely fast if you have the right machinery. Doing it by hand with an iron works, but we have an edge bander and we run it like crazy and make everything like, especially if you pick your rolls right and you can get the right material. It's like the color is perfect to this walnut. It's like you order a roll of it, it might be a totally different color, but it just matched so perfectly. So, okay, last connector is the Tenso. This one is really great, again, on site, because we're mostly building into a space. We want to be able to kind of custom tailor everything to it. So we scribe all our parts to the walls, to the floors, to the ceilings, and we just make it look like it's completely built into the house. You know, we don't want to have some massive reveals next to our really nice, tight revealed cabinetry. So I'm going to clip a couple of these guys in here. And I'm going to do one of these guys because they're fun too. This is just a really fat biscuit. It fits into that joint as well. just to kind of show that. Okay. Tap these guys into place. So kind of where I'm going with trying to show you guys all this is that there's no one tool for every job. We use a ton of different tools. This is a hand tool. This is a biscuit joiner. We have a modern CNC that can cut them, but sometimes to align things, it's easier just to line it up, strike a mark, and cut it yourself. It's really all about best tool for the job. Okay, so this one's gonna be we're gonna do this in pieces, and it'll still work in pieces. I'm going to start with my bottom here because these still have the dovetails in it somehow. That goes that way. And again, it's just kind of like the origin. It's like in conjunction with that tool, everything works really well. Okay, that's not going there. Okay, so I'm going to just snap this guy on here. And then kind of just center it. I'm going to do the same to the top. Just need one little happy zeta. Top. Wrong side. Just snap that on there, and I'm going to do the same with my sides. And they are reversible. It's better to not reverse them. Just because you have to get behind your piece and pry it, so that makes it a little bit more interesting to do, because you just might damage your piece or do something you don't want to do. Snap that guy on there. There's not a gap right there. Don't look at that. This is why I work in a shop where no one watches me. Okay, one more, and then I'm going to talk about, we also, we want to use the best material for what we're doing. The plywood, this accepts these joints really, really well. It's strong. It's going to hold them. It is solid wood. If I was to use something like MDF, that's fine, but we'd want to use a different style fastener. We'd want to use a different style countersink, and it's all a bit more than we really want to do, so we're going to use the plywood. But when it comes to my door, I do want to use MDF because it's super stable. But I also have this pull I cut into it, and I don't want to go in and try to veneer that interior of that pull, and I also have it screwed to some hinges. So I left this open so everybody could see. It's an MDF core, but then banded with two sides. You could go all the way around. I wanted to be able to see it, and then just edge banding on the bottom. That's not end grain, but it wouldn't be end grain if I did it anyways, but who's gonna tell? Where am I on time? Just so okay. I'm not gonna hang this door, but I am gonna put it in there. Or you know what? It'll take 2 seconds. Yes, yes, definitely. Take all of them. There's actually 2 pieces that we could join. That's the cut, and then those are the parts. Yeah, so hinges. There's so many. There's so many different types. This is kind of a funny homage to what I used to do, because in historic restoration, I think you do more butt hinges than you ever want to do in your entire life. But you get pretty good at it, and they are classic and beautiful. And I like the way the barrel looks on the butt hinge, especially if it's a nice one. But what I want to kind of say about this is this hinge here that I have is $3. I bought this for $3 at Home Depot. It works great. I'm going to pass around some bloom hinges too and talk about overlays a little bit, but a bloom hinge is not $3. It's much more. And then I'm gonna, in a few minutes, cut a celiche hinge. A celiche hinge is even more. But there's different advantages to each one. So it's really, again, like best tool for the job. What are we using it for? Do we need it to be that? Do we really need to invest that much and put that burden on the client if they didn't ask for it? So when I get into this celiche hinge, this is easy. How many of you guys have cut a simple mortise for a butt hinge before? Probably like everybody. Yeah, it's easy and hard at the same time, right? It's something that you got to get good at, but it's fun to practice getting good at because you get to use a chisel, you get to use a marking knife. It's great. When it comes to some of these other, pretty wild hinges that do a lot of different overlays and such, it really is not it's not a fun process. There's not many ways to cut some of these hinges. You can buy a jig from the company, you can make your own jig, you can do any of that stuff, but what's really nice is Shaper has a lot of those hinges already in a catalog on the machine, ready to go. And it just makes life so easy, because I believe celiche alone, their hinge is probably about $80, absurd already. And then the jig to cut the hinge is $450 for one hinge. They have, it fits, okay, good. I swear I did it once before, but I mean, it's a hinge. You can't overthink everything. I'm going to pull out some other ones and just talk about why maybe we do overthink some of them, but say I want to get the same result. I have a face frame and an MDF door. I'm going to use a bloom hinge. They're pretty standard in any cabinet shop. And this one's an inset, and it works. It works pretty similarly, different pivot points, a drilling pattern that's kind of annoying unless you have the right tool to do it. We have a mini press, which Bloom makes, which is thousands of dollars, thousands of dollars, not hundreds of thousands of dollars. We have a CNC that'll cut it, but it's 3 holes. It's not that crazy, If it's already doing the process, sure, we'll run a program on the CNC and do that, but, it's a few holes. It's nothing crazy. I know Craig makes a jig and all that. I won't say buy it, but it's simple. There's one on here. You can load it up if you're cutting one door. Yes?
Is that something that you ask the customer when you want the more expensive hinge?
So
You just make a decision?
we have like a standard that we go off of, and this is the best operating hinge. It's easily adjustable. It's just a complete standard for any cabinets nowadays, I think. If you want a more classic look, we can always go with a butt hinge. If you want something absurd, like a celiche air hinge, not that that's a bad hinge, it's just, it doesn't make sense for everyday use. But, where was I? Hinges, yeah. So, but what I love about these two is it's the same drilling pattern for a lot of their styles of hinges. They have a full inset, and then they have different overlays how much the door covers. And when you're doing frameless cabinets, which we do most of, we're using a full overlay. And we're getting our doors to line up perfectly with no breaks in between. We just have a 3/32 inch gap, 3/32 inch gap between each one. Perfect, all the way down, even, consistent. It makes my brain happy when I see that. They're all even, it's nice. But it operates the same way, and it's got the same overlay. When you're designing cabinets, sometimes that doesn't always happen. You have to add another panel, so you have a double thick piece that now I need to overlay, and they have a hinge for that too. I'm going to pass these 2 double overlay ones around, or a single overlay and a double overlay, and you guys can kind of see the difference, play with them, and And that's cool. But now now that I've been talking about hinges forever, I'm gonna cut one. And the hinge I've been talking about, the Salice air hinge, it's very practical for what it does. But it's a wild contraption. You know what I mean? It's great. But I recently did a door where my stiles were 1 inch. You know, you can't get a Bloom hinge onto a 1 inch stile. They didn't want to see the hinges. What do? You start looking through cut sheets of different hinges, and you go through all the catalogs. I think, actually, if you guys want to know what a crazy catalog cut sheet looks like, this is what we're staring at all day. We're trying to figure out if these equal what we need. And I mean, that's, it's my bedtime story sometimes. I'm staring at that and figuring it out. It's a little crazy, but I can just come onto this machine and cut it in 2 minutes without having to do any of that math or any of those things. Just the jig alone for that I would make maybe on a drill press and a router with a straight edge, I'm just saving so much time. So, with saving time, I'm gonna cut one really fast. I kind of have it chalked up. Let me actually just go over what this is first. So, not the shaper, the plate with the mortising adapter on it is really a huge advantage for us when we're doing hardware. We do a lot of millwork doors too. We do big, passage doors, and it's basically an angle bracket to a big kind of workstation. I don't know if you guys are familiar with any of the workstations, but it's a way to be super mobile with it. I can go on site and go up to any door that we have, and I need to cut something instantly, or I need to drill a hole for this, and I don't have the bit. I didn't bring my 42 Forstner bit set, so I can just set it here, and it's perfect, and I'll drill a perfect hole every time. Okay, so that's that. This is one of the best. I think this is what I use the most. If you're thinking about shaper and it's an easy application to lay on anything, it's great. So I'm going to cut this hinge. Yeah. It is. It is, isn't it? Oh, the flag. I forget about those. I Wild West it sometimes. There's a lot of adjustment in these hinges, so it is kind of, I don't mean to say you can be a little bit sloppy, but as opposed to like a butt hinge where we're cutting our door to our interior size, hanging it, and then figuring out where our tapers are and everything if we're out of square a little bit, I can cut this all ahead of time to size, and there's 3 millimeters of adjustment in either direction. In, out, up, down, left, and right. Again, huge on site for us to be able to just walk in and do that. Okay, so if we go to that, I laid down my biggest cut first. This is a pretty deep cut. This would be really kind of hard to do accurately on something thin. You can have a plunge router and do it, and you have some stops, or you have a jig that you're clamping down, but the autocorrect and all these things that Shaper has on it are going to make it really easy. I'm going to not lose my eyeballs because it's been a crazy enough day already today. So, yeah, and I'm going to start by cutting my left side. I'm going to erase that so we don't see that. It looks a little interesting because I didn't add to the scan. I'm just going to cut this to save time. But I'm going to do a quick Z-touch just to make sure. All I have to do is stay within these lines, and auto pass, all these things will take care of it for me. So I'm just going to cut, and this one's a little bit louder. I haven't talked about this yet, but I'll talk about it. It's a dense material, so plug your ears if you don't like loud. first cut. And I'm going to go to my deeper mortise. Okay. So again, this is another type of plywood I kind of wanted to talk about. Instead of a super soft core, this is most people know Baltic birch, right? It's a birch core, cross-banded, lots of layers. This is the same, but instead of, a normal glue, they use an epoxy resin coat. And then the final coat over the top is also an epoxy resin. So it comes in a lot of colors. It's really fun to work with. We did a really modern whole house with this, and the exposed edges are just really fun and funky. But what I want to show off about the shaper and what's awesome about it is, let's see if we can get this shot, but this is extremely close to the edge. If I had tilted or done anything like that, which I'll show you because I did earlier, but how nice and clean that edge is, it's just like, if I had a plunge router, I could have just sneezed a little. And you guys saw it eject on me. I got a little bit outside of that line, and that shaper pulled it right out and was like, nope, you're not going to mess it up today in front of these people. And the fit on this hinge specifically, there's only one screw that holds it to the case. So there's little knurled nubs that kind of keep it in. So we want a really tight fit. And being that close to that edge, a really tight fit is kind of scary because you could blow it out. I just did a cabinet out of redwood with these hinges, and it was a 30-second from the edge of a piece of reclaimed redwood. Terrifying, absolutely terrifying. But I cut it with a shaper, and it was perfect. So I'm going to push it in. I'm going to give it a little tappy with the block. Where's the block? I'll use this block. Offset on the router? I did not. I've cut this enough times that I find right out of the machine it's a perfect fit. Sometimes you'll get a mismachined hinge, but usually it flares at the bottom, and you know before, like if it's a bad joint down here is usually where it's mismachined. So I'll know it won't even fit in there. This is really nice, and then I'm just fighting these little tips here. So I'm just gonna give it a couple little taps. And, there's a lot of tension on these hinges when you open it. So the fact that one little screw and a nice pocket is holding this in there, but I mean, it's great. Just so everybody can see. I put it in upside down, but it's a funky little hinge. And that'll be hard to get out. So, man, I'm just winning today, guys. Yeah, this is gonna be a fun reminder of how to be humbled in the shop. I'm gonna hang all these broken things up there. Just be like, no, you're not that great. Again, another example is I want to reiterate this because this was my mistake. I didn't hold the work properly, and I let the machine sag. I got lazy as we were running it, and don't do that. But I'll kind of show you how that happened. Which side is my good side? This side. Again, I'm going to use the plate for this. I'm going to close this twice. Okay. And this time, I'm going to use the flags, like Russ said to do. And I'll tell you exactly what I did is I was cutting this and I didn't have my back corner supported. And when I ran the router over it, it plunged too deep. I was being quick, I was being lazy, and it showed. So what I should do is take a block of the same material, stick it under there. Let's see, where's a good one? This will work for me here. And just a little wrap on this. Yeah. Okay. So now I'm going to cut the opposite side. Oh my gosh, guys. And while I change this workspace over, if anybody wants to throw any questions out there or think about some questions, yes. I was cutting to the anchor point that's provided from the hardware catalog in Shaper. Because they not only have the catalog of all the parts, they do the offsets and all the things for you. So I put it in there knowing that this is going to be 2.5 and 2.5 millimeters. We did a test cut to make sure, but it's so accurate that I know exactly what it's going to do. And in this hinge, it's kind of funky. You can see that the upper part that attaches to the door is actually offset for this, and that's to get your overlay correct. So whatever my overlay is, I want to make sure I do the math for that. That cut sheet's gone. We don't want to look at that cut sheet anymore. But it's a little bit of like, okay, you could hold it into there and measure and set that way, and that's how I would do it with a jig or anything like that. But instead, I just drop the piece right on. I'm going to switch to the door. Yes, go ahead. It's referencing to the edge of these little fingers I push down and the back of the plate. Yep. Yep, exactly. And actually what this is right now, you can kind of see, this is centered and centered, but what's nice about Shaper is any of their points of reference are offset by a round number. So the two sides are 70 millimeters away from the center, and the back is 50 millimeters away. So these are actually offset 70 millimeters, 50 millimeters. Yeah, yes, metric. Great band, right? Makes sense. Makes sense. And if it makes sense, it makes dollars. Okay, that was really bad. I'm going to cut this hinge and not talk for a minute. Okay, this one's much lighter, not as deep, and I'm just going to make sure that it works. See? You go out, it auto ejects. Sorry. I just want to talk about why it was ejecting there, and it's if you notice something at the same point ejecting every time, it's because there's something sticky on the plate right here, and it was holding me up. And every time I would hit it and then overcompensate. But if you can zoom in right there, if I was doing anything with a router and it grabbed or stuck, it wouldn't do, this would be all the way over here. So, if I do what I normally do before I put any hinge in, knock this edge down and then put that hinge in, that's minuscule on the top of a door up here. It saved my butt. Yes. I was not hitting auto, but that's a great idea. I don't know why I never do that. Do you use auto? Yeah? Okay, great. I will show you right now. It basically makes it so when I get to a tricky spot, like this corner, it'll run around that corner for me. It'll go within its dimension of ½ inch and auto move for me, making like really small curves. Like I believe when you buy the Origin, you get the United States of America map, and you can cut out all these little teeny curves, and you can just hold it over top of it, and it's a CNC. It cuts it for you. I'm going to cut this deeper one, and then I'll do auto in the corners, and you guys can see. It'll be a little button that I'll press, and it'll move around. Okay. So you see the little green button in the bottom corner, auto. I'm going to hold that, and it's going to move around that whole thing for me. Get over here. I won't put you guys through all that. We know one fits. It's great. It is a little loud. I would be wearing muffs normally, but okay. We're probably at the point where I could answer some questions. I don't want to hang out too long. If you guys want to ask me if I'm actually good at my job after this, that's a great question. Yeah, you can ask her. She can attest. Probably not. Getting a performance review after this. So anybody, if they have any questions, not just about shape or about anything. Oh, perfect. None. Okay. Yes. The Salice Air Hinge. It's an Italian company. Yeah. What's really cool about the Salice Air Hinge is if you're doing some super modern interior, Salice will actually do a metal frame door for you with this pre-mortised into it. And it's like I think it's a 20 millimeter frame. It's a very thin, light aluminum frame, and it looks so nice. And it's big, you put glass in it, you can put whatever in it, but absolutely beautiful. And their hardware is absolutely beautiful. I just think it's so funny that it's so odd shaped and so hard to cut. But again, it's not that hard to cut. Okay, I won't. Perfect. I won't say it again. Does anybody have anything else? Nothing? Cool. I do. Oh, yes. I've been using it for about 4 years. When I started at Rowan, Susan had one prior, and I kind of was hardcore gunning to get another one back in the shop. Again, just because what I find myself doing, and probably why I'm not is in tune, is I do a lot of development for what we're doing. So if we say we get an architect or a designer who wants to do something that maybe nobody's ever done, I'll take a couple hours and I'll grab the shaper, I'll grab a cut sheet from a Hinge or any catalog, and I'll try to figure out how to make it work. It's probably one of my favorite parts of my job is that I get to kind of play around with that stuff. Yeah, so that's actually a great question. We use Rhino. I'm not a drafter. I'm not actually good at all at 3D modeling, but I abandoned my PowerPoint. I can show anybody later, but I use Shaper Studio a lot. It's fantastic. It's for me who's not great at it. I can just make shapes and then close my computer, walk out to my machine, and it's on the machine. It's so fast. I do a lot of, we have hinges that aren't in the hardware catalog. There's some big passage door hinges that just don't really make sense to cut with shaper because the plunge is, really deep, probably like 150 mil, 300, or 150 to 300, depending on which way you're going. And those don't make any sense to cut on here, but to cut the template for it, which they don't sell, then I can use a plunge router, and then I can really do what I need to do. Again, it's all about the process, and it's all about using the machines correctly for what they need. Yes?
Approximately how much do they cost?
The shapers? There's a price tag on this one. $28.99, 0 cents. What's tax in Connecticut? Is there tax in Connecticut? It's less than New York, so I would buy it here if you're from New York. But yeah, drive over to New Hampshire. Great. I did want to talk about one more thing. Who cares? No, what I really wanted to do is I want to thank the Connecticut Valley School of Woodworking a lot. This is really cool. I got an opportunity that I think I severely exceeded at to present. I want to thank Ben for sitting behind this thing all day, doing a great job, Bob, and all of Fine Woodworking, and kind of everybody involved, Shaper especially. They care about their makers and they care about what they're doing, and they're a good company. So, and yeah, I don't know what else to say. Any last chance for questions? I got like 1 minute. If there's anything I am, it's real.